Welcome, low ego action heroes. And I forgot to put on my microphone. This is Debbie Levitt from deltacx.com. We are a full service CX and UX consultancy and agency. We do projects, training, and consulting. Check us out if there's anything that we can do for you. And welcome to Tuesday office hours. Ask Me Anything. This is where I stay here for about an hour taking any questions that you have. Please note we already have about 8 questions, so I might not be able to get to too many more today. We ran out of time last week, so we had some questions from then. People have been sending them in ahead of time at deltacx.com/links, and we might be almost full, so I apologize if I can't get to your question today. It'll be saved for next week. While we thank everybody who is giving to the YouTube channel in small and large ways, I'm going to put my microphone on. Please excuse me. Thank you to everybody who is supporting the channel with small and large donations, past, present, and future. Always appreciated, not required. Hello, Ana Lucia. I think I've just about got my microphone on. How does it sound? And yes, thank you to everybody who is donating. Okay, so let's also move the chat away from my face, since this was how I had it last time we had some guests. Let's move it over. There we go. Alrighty, so we got, there's some questions we didn't get to last week, so we're going to start with those. Apologies to the people who are still waiting a week to get their questions answered. Yeah, Udipta, turned it off. Ana Lucia can tell you that it went wild last week when I turned on the voice prompt where if I say empathy, the stars go off. It was just going off constantly, so we had to turn it off. Thank you. And Udipta, it's not hooked up to the chat, but we feel you. We feel you, and of course, we thank you for your empathy. All right, so let's take a look at the questions that have been coming in. We'll start with this one, and let's take a look. How does one deal with showing business impact in a portfolio presentation? I've had managers want to see metrics, and I prefer to stick to qualitative impact since metrics are also confidential. Hi, Noel. Hi, Manuel. Hey, Manuel, how have you been? I've been thinking about you. I do have the bot responding to the design thinking, Udipta. I hope you're enjoying that. Sorry I'm sniffly. It's coming into spring allergy time. Better add more spring allergy medicine to my glass of water. So, yeah, so to the person who asked the question, I think that if you do have metrics that you can speak to, they are good to include. Ultimately, businesses want to know that when you do work, good things happen. Now, that could be qual or quant, happier customers, but excuse me, do you have any way to measure those happier customers? Do you know if you had fewer support tickets, or sales had an easier time selling the thing, or marketing had an easier time marketing the thing, or something related to usage? So I would say while qual data is good, and I appreciate that, a lot of companies do want to see quant. I have almost no quant from my previous work. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. Whew. So I get it. Sometimes we don't have it, or sometimes it's confidential. We can't say, and our company grew 9,000% thanks to this. So maybe you can say something general like our leads from the website nearly doubled. You know, you don't have to say exactly how much money a company made. You can always use percentages or multiplying factors. You don't have to say, and our revenue was X dollars. Yes, of course, that's confidential, unless you're public. Kayleen, meow, it's me, the bot. You're not a bot. But you do have a question this week. Anduska Fandru. I hope I did okay with that one. Hi, thanks for joining us from Twitch. Yeah, get everybody. This is for you too. In your portfolio, get all of the impact you can in there. We don't always know that impact, and not every story is going to have a happy ending. That's okay. But if you have any quantitative metric, even if it's a relative percentage, hey, this went up 2%, this went down 6.7%, include that. Okay, enough said there. We have too many questions, and I'm going to jump into another question we didn't have time for last year. Oh, it's Kayleen's question. Last week, rather. Kayleen, I wanted to ask your question. Are you sure you want me to skip it? I'll do the next question, and we'll see if Kayleen still wants her question answered. Okay, the next question says, do you recommend the MBA through Quantic? So for those of you who don't know, I have an MBA and I got it from Quantic. Quantic is an online school. Let's talk very honestly and openly about Quantic and the MBA. So first of all, the price of the Quantic MBA is excellent. In the scheme of what master's degrees cost, it is quite low. It's not nothing. It's not free, but it wasn't bad. Ultimately, when I was sent an NPS survey about Quantic, I think I gave them a 6. I found that their style of teaching was fun and engaging. I didn't always love the content. And because I've been working in business for so many years, I didn't agree with some of the content, and I felt like there was literally nothing in there about UX or CX. It was all very marketing, and making the customers happy seemed to be quite secondary. I also didn't necessarily like that our final project was fairly rigid. A lot of times people doing a master's degree get to come up with their own thesis and research a paper. Quantic is different. You have a fairly structured project that you do as a team. I got very lucky. I picked a really wonderful team. The advice that I got was try to, as soon as you see amazing people introducing themselves in Slack, get them on your team. And so I teamed up with 2 women and 2 men for a team of 5. And ultimately, and this is nothing about gender, we found the 2 men were not good to work with. One of them did almost nothing and pretended he was working, and the other was unfortunately not as available as he could have been, but seemed like a very smart and nice guy. So when it came to the final project, we had to find some way to tell the men we didn't want to work with them. And it was just me and the other 2 ladies, and I thought we did a beautiful job, and we got a very high score on it. So ultimately, do I recommend Quantic? I think, don't answer my question. It came in anonymously. Anonymously, you put your name on the end, you silly person. Okay, I'm not gonna, don't answer that question. Answer the question that came in anonymously. But it had your name on it and your trademark all over it, your personal brand. So, okay, back to the MBA through Quantic. If you want to go to one of the best business schools out there and have the network from the best business school and the prestige of the name of the best business school, it's not going to be Quantic. If you want to get a relatively painless master's degree, MBA, for a decent amount of money because you care more about, in my case, I cared more about the letters on my name than what was the education. So it was right for me in that sense. I sometimes wish I had done a different final project because I felt like I would have had a more interesting thesis in me than the structured project. But yeah, I would give it a 6 out of 10. I think if you're looking for inexpensive MBA, it's a good choice. I think if you're looking for the best business school possible, it might not be that. And I don't like that they really didn't cover anything about user experience or customer experience. And I also felt it was a little bit startup focused in places, and it was not the best advice about startup-y stuff. Okay, Anduska Fandru, I'm going to put your question on the end of the list, but please know we have a list because I have questions left over from last week, and then I got questions in before the show, so you will be at the end of the list. I apologize. You might be waiting a while. So let's answer an anonymous question that we got about if we are starting a company, what should we name that company? And I would like to talk about this a little bit. An anonymous person says, what should I name my company if I were to make one? I bought the domain meow.design. I'm at the store. I deleted the YouTube app off my phone. Good move. Oh, Udipta says, what was your thesis topic? I didn't have one because the way they do it at Quantic is you just do a final project. Final group project. Hi, Shannon. I've missed you. How are you? I'm going to be not far from you in a week. Would you recommend someone read course enroll for someone who's joining a role as CX strategist? Ahmed Daoud, can you please rephrase that? I did not understand your question, and it will have to go on the end where we already have like 9 questions, so please be patient. But please rephrase that. I didn't understand it. Okay, so what should you name your company? Let's talk a little bit about naming companies. So I've renamed my company about 4 times in the last 28 years. And most of the time I've named it something. My first 2 names were things that meant something to me. That meant they were weird and didn't mean things to other people. For the most part, I have always tried to pick names that were easy to spell if you hear them and easy to say if you see them. I think that's important for a brand. When my brand was P-type, nobody looked at it and said, Petipe? Everybody looked at that and just seemed to know it was P-type, even though there wasn't a dash in it. It was just P-type. I still have all my pens. Who wants a P-type pen? P-type. So I've always gone with names that are easy to spell and easy to say for English speakers and possibly others as well. That's one thing to think about. So easy to spell, easy to say. Then you have the question of what we call empty vessel or full vessel. So a full vessel is Deb's website company. Okay, there's only one thing that this can be. And then the empty vessel is As Was, which was my original company name. What is As Was? It could be anything. It could be a floor polish. It could be a consulting company. It could be shampoo. So it's up to you whether you want to go full vessel or empty vessel. Just remember the downside to a full vessel is if you ever change what you're doing, and I've certainly changed what I'm doing over the past 28 years, you don't want to be too stuck in your name. And that's a little bit of what happened with P-type, because P-type was about, we built a lot of Axure prototypes. And people were hiring us just for our interaction design and information architecture and prototyping. So P-type was a pretty cool name for a company that focused heavily on prototyping, and that was most of our work. But as we transitioned into larger research and strategy projects, P-type didn't seem right anymore. So to the person who says they might be meow.design, I think that certain languages will read that correctly. Not everybody knows how to spell meow. You know, meow spelled in French is different than meow spelled in English. And so you might find people misspelling that. But ultimately, the question is, what are you going for? I think the .design domain and those TLDs can be interesting, but I do think where possible, you want to stick with .com. It's shorter to write, and it's usually at the top of people's mind. People might remember, oh yeah, it was something about meow meow. So even when I do a .weird thing, like I technically own, I think, delta.cx. But not everyone's going to remember that. So you want to at least have deltacx.com, even if you use, so like for P-type, I had pty.pe. Fantastic short domain name, super cool, hard for people to remember. Squatter was on ptype.com. I ended up eventually buying ptypeux.com. So, you know, think about some of these things. Okay, thank you, Ahmed, for the question. Let me add that to the end of the list. So, hopefully, and Praveen, will add your question to the end of the list. I can't go too late today because I do have a call afterwards, so I think we're going to have to say no more questions for today because I have a very long list. So no more questions today. Hi, Camila. Hello, other people who have been joining. Malika. Yeah, so person who's naming, Two Birds, you snuck in. We love ya. Two Birds, last question, and then seriously, kids, no more questions. I'm going to be out of time today. Okay, so let's see. Next question, since we have so many to get through. Hi, Ian, how's it going? Quick question. When do you know you are ready to tackle jobs when you're self-taught? I'm always questioning myself if I know enough or not. You know, one way to do that is to have a mentor or a coach take a look at your portfolio or at your work. That person can certainly, I mean, people send me their portfolios all the time, and usually, more often than not, I'm saying, you know, it just doesn't look like you're ready to do the job yet. It looks like you're still learning. It looks like you didn't totally understand this. It looks like you didn't do this as well as you could have. I'm not sure you're ready. So you can always send, no, it's okay, Two Birds. I want to include you. Because I think I know who Two Birds is. So, though I didn't until yesterday. Was it yesterday? So, person who's asking this, get an expert opinion. Who is your mentor or coach? Are you talking to Darren or Nick or somebody else? Do you want to send your portfolio to me? Have you done that already? I do a free portfolio review. You can go to deltacx.link/portfolio-review. If that's hard to remember, just go to deltacx.com/links. That's got all of your questions answered. Abhishek is back. It's been quite some time since I tuned in. Hope you're well. Yeah, sorry, out of questions, but good to see you again. I hope you've been well. And the weather is nice. So there you go. Get an outside opinion on if you're ready or not. It is hard to know. You don't even know what you don't even know. Next question. Okay. Oh, yeah, I saw this one come in and I was like, oh, man, we're going to attack this one with all the swords. Shannon, I'll message you and see if we can meet up. I've got PTO, but your kids too. Yeah, and I'm not renting a car. I'm going to be in Columbus. I don't know if that is not close. But I do have some time on May 4. If you think you can get to Columbus, you might not be able to, and it's okay. Just know I'm thinking of you. Okay, this question came in, and I was like, oh boy, here we go. It says, 2-hour drive, not bad. Okay, thank you. If you only had 20 minutes to do an interactive participatory activity workshop with a team of 12 developers and 2 product managers to get them to create a fictional customer journey map for a small game they were about to develop, with the goal to introduce them to the concept of a customer journey map, how would you go about doing it? I understand this is not an ideal situation, to put it mildly, but unfortunately those are my constraints, and I want to do the best I can with what I've got to work with. Okay, so it sounds like no matter what, we're making a customer journey map, which I would not be recommending. This is not something I want to workshop. However, I have a sneaky strategy, taking off my hoodie, I have a sneaky strategy that I use for situations like this, and I used to do it in workshops that I held at engineering and developer conferences. I would let people guess at a customer journey map, but for a very limited amount of time, 10 minutes. So if you've got 20 minutes, this could be perfect. 20 minutes to guess at a customer journey map. Then I used to say, well, this is totally the wrong way to do it. We all guessed at this. We all said that there was a different first step. We all said there was a different second step. Which customer journey is true or real? Because I would let everybody make individual ones, and then we would take a look at them. Or at one point, I had them, we ran a poll. What's the first thing this persona does? And everybody voted for something different. And then it was like, what's the real thing? So what you can do is then say, wow, imagine if we tried to move forward with this project when we don't even agree on what the customer journey is. We're guessing it, we're assuming it, but yet we don't know it. We don't have good evidence. We're guessing at this. Let's do a quadrant exercise. I forgot to make a graphic for it. I don't think I have a graph. I made a graphic out of some of the other things, and I forgot to make quadrant graphic. Damn it. Quadrant. So the quadrant exercise that we've been talking about on the show sometimes is where it just simply, it's a quadrant, a 2x2 XY kind of axis, and you've got 4 boxes. Do this on a Miro board or the board in the room or whatever, and you're putting questions that I have, what I'm guessing or assuming, what I wish I knew, and potentially incorrect or outdated information. Now we say, let's look back at the customer and their journey related to this this game we're thinking of developing. Let's fill out this now for the next 5-10 minutes. I think you're going to need more than 20 in the end, maybe just 30 total, but spend 10 minutes filling out the quadrant with what people wish they knew, what they think they know, what they're guessing or assuming about customers or users or the game or anything like this. Then look again at the quadrant after 10 minutes and say, wow, again, we really shouldn't move forward with developing this game or game mechanics or game design when we don't know these things. These are all the things we don't know. And if we move forward without knowing these things, this is risk and it's waste. It's probably stuff we're going to figure out later, realize we were partially or totally wrong, and end up having to redo a lot of work. I just submitted a question on this. To me, I'm out of questions. Oh, is this the same? Noel, are you the person who asked this original question? Like, did you think I would forget you? So ultimately, that's what I would do with my time. I'd probably ask for 30 minutes. And yeah, I got that. I just didn't know if you also asked this original one that we're doing. Okay, so that's interesting. So maybe we'll throw in Noel's next as a natural follow-up if Noel is saying it's close. Or Noel, I always forget. It's been a while. So I would say see if you can get 30 minutes. 10 minutes to guess at a customer journey map. 5 minutes for you to talk about the risk and waste of guessing at a customer journey map and how make them do all separate ones. Don't do it together. Show how everybody had totally different journey maps. We're all guessing we don't even know. Noel, like Christmas. Thank you. 5 minutes of that. 10 minutes of quadrant exercise, 5-10 minutes of talking about, wow, we really need to do some qualitative generative research first to answer these questions so that we don't go into this project or game design or mechanics not knowing this, not knowing the customer journey, all these things on this board that we don't know. I hope that helps. Let's take a quick look at Noel's question in case it is a natural follow-up question. I'm just seeing it now for the first time. Hopefully it is. Let's see. It's related to the quadrant exercise. Okay, so let's put it up as a natural follow-up. But really, peeps, no more questions today. We're going to be so out of time. Here we go. Noel says, with your workshop idea with stakeholders to explicitly state unanswered questions, guesses and assumptions, outdated or incorrect info, and what do we wish we know, do you find that outdated info, guesses, and what we wish you knew quadrants seem to get slightly neglected? I found a lot of people focus on unanswered questions, not as much time spent on the other sections. Thoughts, tips. Okay, Noel, if you haven't seen me talk about this quadrant exercise before or you didn't read about it in my new book, guess what? They're all the same thing. So no, I don't care if people don't fill in the others as much. I might say something like, hey, can anybody think of any, you're saying people mostly focus on answer questions. Hey, does anybody want to put any guesses or assumptions? Now, if you can think of one, put it up. I think that we're assuming that users feel this way about games, or we're assuming that people want to play a very detailed build-a-world game from a phone device. What if that isn't the case? We're assuming that people want to build a world game when there's already a zillion of them out there. That's an assumption. So remember, as a facilitator, you can this is my work Gmail. Oh, okay. So as a facilitator of this, you can always put a couple of sticky notes up there, get people thinking and rolling, but ultimately, whatever they can put on the board is gold, and all four of the things are basically the same thing, phrased slightly differently. They're all, what do we wish we knew? What don't we know? What do we think we know? They're all in the same bucket of risky, unknown things. Jennifer Brown's asking a follow-up question. We're going to run late today. I hope I'm not late for my call after this. Okay, let's go with Jennifer Brown. Should part of your research be finding the answers posed in the quadrant? Is this part of the UX research? Okay. So I'm going to need to do a separate show on the quadrant because I keep doing some shows on the quadrant, but obviously not enough shows on the quadrant. So we're going to need to do a quadrant show, and then we're going to need to be able to tell people, go watch the quadrant show. So let me write that down. Quadrant show. All right. So I've told too many people about you at work, and I don't want colleagues noticing me. Okay, that's fine. I won't say your name. Okay, so let's talk quickly about quadrant. First of all, there's never a bad time to run the quadrant exercise. Beginning of a project, end of a project, A/B test fails, never a bad time. But Jennifer Brown says, yes. The idea of the quadrant is not only will it wake people up to the risk and waste and potential small and large future failures, because these are all the things we don't know, and we probably shouldn't continue on with our project at all or too far because we don't know. But you then use it for your research planning. So it's a nice collaborative exercise that feeds into the research planning. This might be generative, exploratory, discovery. But yes, chances are it's not, you could run it for evaluative, but it's going to be really great for beginning of project or early project planning, discovery type of early generative research. So the idea is you would then create the research study or studies that answers all of the questions that came up on that board as long as they're in scope. For example, sometimes I have a client say, how much will people pay for this feature? We don't even know what the feature is. Cool off. So a question like that, I'll say, well, that one is out of scope. I'm not going to ask people what they would pay for a future unknown thing, but anything that's in scope, let's try to get that answered in one or two research studies that we can do up front before anybody, then you frame your problems, write your problem statements, then you can prioritize those, and then you can worry about design and solutions. But first, we've got to understand people and prioritize their problems and pain points. Jennifer, I get it. I feel like a good part of my time is investigating the issue, clarifying research requests. Glad to hear this. Yeah, I think it's a great way to even initiate research requests. Hey, the team got together and we did a quadrant exercise, and here's a whole bunch of things we wish we knew. Here's a bunch of things we're assuming that could bite us in the butt later. Hey, Jennifer, can you answer these questions? We made you a board with our quadrant. Help us answer these questions. So I think it's a great way to go. Alrighty. Let's take a quick look at the email. Okay. And now let's look back at the list of questions and grab the next one. Okay, someone asked this in another office hours and evidently didn't like the answer and wanted me to re-answer it. So I guess our first dissatisfied customer. They would like a refund. Okay, this was the question. Here we go. I asked this in the last office hours, but the question got broken up in separate parts that led to a lack of clarity. Sorry about that. Is it okay to think about how I made a certain UI that can help the company achieve business goals like increased traffic conversion and retention rates? In addition, talk about using certain tools to measure those types of analytics. I did a UX internship where management just wanted me to create certain UI designs for their website. I'm trying to find a way to make the internship I did look more interesting rather than just saying, here's the UI I made. I'm reaching out to HR to understand why the company needed UX designer. I don't have any metrics. This question is not clearer to me than it was last week. So I must be missing something in this because I don't feel like we answered this incorrectly. We told you last week to put whatever you can in your portfolio. If it is mostly a UI project, you're going to have to tell the truth about that. But you can always say, here's what the project should have done. We should have researched these people to understand what we were designing and why. We should have done this. We should have met 8 people, 16 people, 47 people. Here's what we should have done. But we didn't do that because this project was limited and it ended up being just the UI. You can tell a story about something that should have happened, but you can't really change what did happen. And so I must be missing what you're telling me, because you're telling me you didn't like last week's answer, and I feel like I have the same answer this week. So I don't get it. I must be missing something. It's me. I don't get it. I feel like I have the same answer as last week. So maybe try asking the question in a different way instead of copying and pasting the same thing, and see if I say something different. Jennifer, no more questions. We're over questions. I'll try to add your question, Jennifer, but I'm trying to say no more questions. So I'm going to have to put this on the screen in a more aggressive way. Please hold. Let's see, hold on, that's not the right way. Okay, how about that? Okay, let's take a look at our next question, since I'm still not getting this one. So can this person just contact me privately through a LinkedIn message or through the Slack or Discord community, which are free? deltacx.com/links will take you there. It's me. I don't get your question. So I'm not going to answer it right until I get more information. All right. I keep thinking about starting with the business outcome. You and Teresa Torres. For example, after TikTok launched short videos, Instagram and YouTube started implementing the same video format. You should totally buy her new book. I'd love a show on the quadrant. Yeah, I just wrote that down. I'm going to have to do a quadrant show, but most of May is booked, so we're going to have to look at June. Sorry, everybody. But I wrote down quadrant graphic and quadrant show. It's right here. I keep thinking about starting with the business outcome. For example, after TikTok launched short videos, Instagram and YouTube started implementing the same video format and experience. It seems like the business is instructing the product team to build the feature. My question is it wise to copy TikTok in order to avoid losing competition? I think the weird thing about that is I think we would have to study this. So I don't know. I haven't researched this. What I'm about to say is full of guesses and assumptions. Totally don't know. But I would imagine that many people are using multiple social media tools. I would imagine some people are using 0 or 1. For example, someone is only on TikTok. They never look at YouTube. They never look at Instagram. It's only one thing. So the question is, should these other things have those features? Now, we also saw LinkedIn try to adopt stories, and that failed and that got removed. So my question is, I know that these companies got excited because when they saw the short story format, they saw a lot more engagement. And a lot of these social media companies want engagement over anything else. They want engagement over your mental health. They want engagement over you spending your time well. They want engagement over everything. So if you want engagement over everything, then you can certainly rip off what other sites and companies do that seems to create engagement, or you can invent your own things that create engagement. That doesn't mean these are ethical. That doesn't mean that these are good for the user. So, is it wise to copy TikTok in order to avoid losing competition? Were they losing competition, or was it just the idea of, oh, we'll get more engagement and we'll get more people staying in our system longer if we do these shorts. So for example, look at YouTube. YouTube didn't have shorts. Now they're going all in on shorts, and they're pushing shorts to me that I, for the most part, hate. I mostly hate shorts. I don't want to watch them. They try to push them anyway. Once in a while I tap on one and I usually give it a thumbs down. I hate shorts. So someone said, hey, you know, people love short blasts of fun and wacky things or interesting things. So shorts, blast, blast, blast. And you can tell YouTube is going all in on it, because I get surveys from YouTube as a YouTuber, and they say things like, are you making long form videos, as in longer than 1 minute? And I'm just like, wow, that's long. Long form videos on YouTube used to be longer than 10 minutes. So ultimately, I think these companies all copy each other just not out of fear that they're going to lose competition, but just thinking, that looks like a good idea that's going to make people more addicted, more engaged, stay in our app longer. The longer they stay in the app, the more ad revenue or other money we make. Do it, do it, do it. So Camila says, I totally have to check if shipping to Poland is available. Yes, it is. In fact, the book is printed in Poland. So yes, get it from Amazon. The hardcover is printed in Poland, and the paperback is printed in Italy. So just order it from Amazon if you like paper books. Ana Lucia says, I don't use Reels or whatever that feature is. I only have a couple of social media. TikTok is part of it. I'm not part of the target audience, I would say. Yeah, and again, it ultimately, you want to build what makes sense for your users. Does everybody doing stories or everybody doing shorts or everybody doing something make sense? Maybe. You know, maybe it's Instagram added it, maybe it's working for Instagram. LinkedIn added it. It didn't work for LinkedIn. They took it off. So ultimately, we can try to copy other people or competitors or companies, but it doesn't mean that it's a good feature that will ultimately work. And that's where we have to make sure that we are that we have good metrics, and that we are watching our project carefully, and that we are not afraid to undo or remove or change something that's failing. So no, I don't believe in just copying competitors just because they did a thing. We have to figure out if that thing, or how about a better version of that thing, makes sense for our users. Okay, next question, which I think we're finally up to the new ones. I'm in a bit of a pickle. After research, we found out that a current workflow is at best incomplete, at worst does not solve a problem. What's your approach when communicating this to stakeholders? Honesty. So for starters, absolute honesty. Tell the story of the project. Why did we start this project? What did we think we were doing? So, so I'm missing a little bit of, let's see, it took 3 days to get my hard copy from Amazon, FYI, and is that a German flag? So yeah, that's pretty short. 3 days for the hardcover is really short. Usually the paperback will take about 3 days. The hardcover takes longer, but that's pretty good. Thanks for buying the hardcover. Okay, so first of all, honesty with the stakeholders. Don't lie. Don't make this sound better than it is. You don't have to throw anyone under the bus and go, it was Jim. But we want to make sure that we are being honest about this. Lying to stakeholders that we have a product problem isn't going to be good. So I would probably start with what we were trying to do. When we started this project, or when this workflow was built, we had an assumption that users only did this, this, and this, or we believed that users did this, or we put out something minimally viable at the time because we were trying to move fast. But now that we're taking a second look at it, and again, I'm totally making up this story, so you have to fill in the honest bits. Now that we're taking a second look at it and we've run some research on it, we've actually learned that this workflow is not really a match to what's happening for our users. Let's take a look. And here you could do two diagrams. You could do the flow that you've designed. The existing flow that you say is incomplete or doesn't solve a problem. And then you could, oh, thank you, Jennifer. Yes, won't you, everybody please subscribe to the channel. We need more subscribers. Help, help. Oops, I'm trying to press the subscribe button and it's not happening because my phone switched internet networks. I'm even having a good internet day. All right, let's try again. Subscribe. Please subscribe. We're still shadow banned on YouTube, and I'd greatly appreciate people subscribing and telling friends about all of our super shows and our literally almost 800 archived videos on YouTube. All right, so yes, you've got to just tell stakeholders the truth. You've got to kind of unravel a story, maybe show the flow, how it is now, and maybe what you learned about the user's workflow, or why this isn't a match, or, you know, add to the diagram. See this here? They don't actually do this. Or see this part over here? It turns out that's actually 9 steps, or we require all this other information and we never built that. Or we had this assumption that people did this and it turns out they don't. It's another role that does this. These people don't do this. This isn't right for them. And so I think you're just going to have to lay out your argument. Unfortunately, this current workflow is, and you tell me, you know if it's incomplete or doesn't solve a problem. You know this. Your question acts like, we're not sure, could be this, could be this. You know what it is. So you're going to have to lay that out, and you have to lay it out confidently. Unfortunately, we have this workflow in our product, and at first we were concerned it was incomplete. But after research, we can tell you definitively, but unfortunately, it doesn't match our users at all. It's not solving a problem for them, and it might even be creating a problem for them. Here's how we know. Let's look at a few video clips of the people using this, or talking about their workflow, or talking about their role. So I think you're going to have to lay it out now, but then you have to end that with, what do we do now? This is where you have to be strategic. This is where Dr. Ari says you have to take a point of view. You can't just say, you know, hi, this is a giant flaming garbage pile. Thank you so much for inviting me to your meeting. This whole thing is a pile of shit. And thanks for coming, everybody. Here's a copy of my PowerPoint. End scene. So you have to make sure that you're ending it with, now what should we do about this? Is this a workflow that can be redesigned or rebuilt? Is this a workflow that should be removed from our product? Can we show that nobody's using it, or almost nobody? Is this a workflow that should be merged with something else? I don't know. I have no information. But you're going to need to tell people, based on what we learned in research, this is what you need to do next. Now, that doesn't mean you have to draw wireframes. You just have to give advice. You just have to say, our research insights tell us that the evidence we have and the way to reduce the risk and the waste on this and to make customers happier is we're going to need to do this. And then have a plan. What is this and how long does it take? We're going to need to redo this workflow completely. Luckily, we can work from the research we just did, so that part's already done. But, you know, since we've gotten this wrong already, we don't want to rush design. We're going to suggest 2 sprints for design. I know that sounds a little bit long, but now we're fixing something that's really badly broken and really not working for our customers. 2 years into development and we found this. Yeah. And that's a great point to make. We've been working on this 2 years. Do you understand what our company has spent on this to have a team working on this for 2 years, easily hundreds of thousands of dollars, and now we have this problem. So these are our choices. We need to remove this and give up on this project and cut our losses and stop throwing money into the money hole and falling for the sunk cost fallacy. Or we need to rethink this workflow, redesign it based on the good evidence we have from our fresh research, or we don't have enough evidence from our fresh research. That research was just evaluative. We're going to need generative research to better understand what people are doing and what they really need here, because it doesn't seem to be this. So this is what we need to do. This is how long we're going to take to do it, and this is when engineering can expect to get revised designs. That's what I would do. I think you have to deliver it honestly. Sometimes people feel, ooh, that's too cold. Doesn't matter. You can put on a funny hat, you can tap dance, you can play with sticky notes. You still have bad news to deliver. And I think it's just best to say, and you can even start with, hey, look, once in a while, people have to hold meetings here where tough information is relayed, and we've got bad news for each other. But if we want to have a culture of honesty, and if we want to do better every time we meet or talk about this, if we want to keep getting better and we want to have a culture of honesty, then we're going to have to talk out loud about some bad news that we have. And today, our bad news has to do with the blah, blah, blah project, and here's what I know. And here's how I know it. So sorry about that, but good luck. And there you go. Okay, now we're finally getting to some of the other questions from today. Sorry it's taken so long, and hopefully we'll be able to get to the last one. If possible, could be valuable to estimate the cost of leaving the workflow broken. Yeah, Chad's always got great things to add to these things. Thank you, Chad. Happy to see you here. So yes, exactly. Risk, waste, run the math. Run the math on what your company has spent on it so far. If you know, a project manager knows. Somebody knows what everybody on the team is paid or what the budget for this project has been for the past 2 years. Somebody knows that. Hey, we've spent 200,000. We've spent 1 million. We've spent 50 million Swedish kroner. I don't know who you are or where you are. Though if that's your last name, I'll go with Eastern Europe. Romania? I don't know, but these are the tough conversations to have, and I agree with Chad. Put math on this as much as possible. This is what it costs to keep making this. This is what the mistake has cost us so far, and this is what it might cost to keep making this mistake. And these are the risks we run with our customers. They might not want to sign on. They might leave. You know, what do you believe are likely possibilities for the outcome for the customers based on the research you did? Okay, we had a question that was, what courses would you recommend for someone entering the CX world as a strategist? Probably my own. Yeah, it's a little cheesy, I know, but I do have a workshop based on my book. And since my book is heavily about CX strategy and customer centricity, I do recommend this. I'm not thrilled with any of the other courses. I've tried a couple of the courses and I ended up dropping them, like the CXPA. I really felt it wasn't in touch. It didn't feel modern. I'm doing my course in a few weeks. It's called Strategizing Products and Customer Experiences, SPACE for short. You can find it at, cxcc.to/space, all lowercase. It'll be in mid-May, live in Denver, Colorado, and remotely for people not in Denver, Colorado. It's a place to start. It's some slides and some exercises based on the book, including the beloved quadrant exercise. But yeah, otherwise, studying business. Understanding the business stuff more, so the MBA was helpful in that sense, even though I knew some of what was in the MBA already. But yeah, business stuff, understanding how businesses operate and how they want to make money and need to make money and often want to put making money over everything else. And so those are some of the suggestions I have, but I don't know a lot of great CX strategy courses at this time. And maybe even mine's not right for you, but it's kind of all I can think of. All right, we've got 3 more questions, which is good because we only have 12 more minutes, so we'll try to do the lightning round. Okay. Will mapping the persona of the end users or customers of the company help in making the named user customer-centric? I didn't understand that. And we got another question from, yes, that was Praveen's question. Praveen, I don't get that. Will mapping the persona of the end users of the company help in making the name user customer-centric? I don't get that because we don't make users customer-centric. We're trying to make our teams and projects and companies customer-centric. If the question is, Will working with personas or working with customer journey maps make a company customer-centric? The answer is no. This is covered in my book. Does anybody remember what page that's on? Let's see. That's probably chapter 6. But basically, if that is the question, and sorry I didn't understand it, and you might have left by now, just because we make a persona doesn't mean we're customer-centric. Most personas are absolute garbage. You could throw them in the garbage, set the garbage on fire, and your project would be no different because the personas are not helping or informing anything. They're not helping you strategize. They're not helping you decide. They're not helping you create product. They're not helping you design. Same thing for customer journey maps. We've got a new video here on the YouTube channel about customer journey mapping. So come on over to the Delta CX YouTube channel, subscribe while you're here, and find the playlist that says conference sessions. In there is a session I did for UX Prussia, not sponsored, where we talked about where journey mapping goes wrong, how to make better customer journey maps, and stuff like that. That being said, just because you make a customer journey map doesn't mean you've made a good one, and it doesn't mean you're customer-centric. In fact, in that session, I showed some customer journey maps that were definitely not made by anybody who knew anything about the customers. They were definitely imagining and pretending what customers do. Evelina says, thank you so much for calling proto-personas BS. Proto-personas are BS. Absolutely. Proto-personas are the fancy schmancy fake Greek name we're giving to guest personas, guest and assumed personas. We should not waste any time. Yeah, somewhere around page 77, Noelle. I'm not looking right now, but I'd have to open it up. But basically, there's no reason to work from guesses and assumptions, and just because we have an artifact or a map or a diagram doesn't mean we were customer-centric at all. Again, we'll see earlier we talked about that customer journey mapping exercise where everybody's going to guess the customer journey. It can't be customer-centric if we didn't involve customers. It's not user-centered design if we didn't involve the users. Same thing. So basically, no. Mapping a persona or a customer journey does not mean you've made your company more customer-centric. The question is, where did you get the information? What is the source? Are you mapping the customer journey because you did wonderful observational research and you watched the customer in their natural environment doing their task without your system, solution agnostic? Maybe your customer journey map's good. Maybe you will be more customer-centric. But just the idea that you have a map doesn't promise that you're customer-centric. All right. Next question. In usability testing, is there any value asking, what do you think of the speed of the interaction and how's the tone of the writing? No. These are things we want to know, but not really questions we can ask. You can always ask what can be improved. And the speed can also be judged by you. You might have a sense of how efficient this should be or how fast it should go. But remember, humans are different. Some people think slower. Some people process information slower. Some people type slower or type badly. We shouldn't imagine that if people can't get this done in 17 seconds, well, that's it, it's the end, this is terrible. Maybe those people have visual issues and wear glasses and didn't put on their glasses. Maybe they type slow. There could be lots of reasons why people didn't get a certain speed. That's why I'd rather look at efficiency, and I'd rather look at, did people get through this easily and it solves the real problem, and they didn't make mistakes, and it was all logical and intuitive. So I'd rather look at these qualitative things than what was your speed. Because we can watch someone get through a workflow in usability testing, and we can watch them make constant mistakes. We can watch them confidently F it up all over the place. And we can ask them, was that easy to use? And they'll go, yeah, that was pretty good. We watch them mess it up horribly. We can ask them, how was the speed of this system? Oh yeah, that was pretty fast. I liked it. What does that even mean? So these are not the right questions to ask people in usability testing. Sometimes people are slow because it's the first time they've seen it and they're trying to make sense of it. That's not a good time to be timing people. How's the tone of the writing? Compared to what? And tone of writing is inside baseball. These are things we say to each other because they mean something to us. They don't mean a lot to the average person. The average person doesn't look at a billboard and go, I don't like the tone of this writing. So that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to use any inside lingo with people. Don't say brand voice or tone of writing. Ask other things. What are we really trying to learn? Did the information make sense to them? Did they feel like they had all the information they needed to complete their task? Was there anything that was confusing to them? The tone of writing is usually a bit more of market research. They want to ask people, did you like the way the writing sounded? I think we have to find other ways to ask that question. I'm not an expert on that, but I know I don't want to ask people, how's the tone of the writing? It's bluish. These are words that mean something to us that don't mean things to other people. I don't think we can ask that. And then we've got the last question from our Jennifer Brown Marathon. Let's take a look. What are your thoughts on providing upper management with a UX research report each quarter? Yes and no. Oh, we have another question, even though it says no more questions today, please. People don't read stuff. How was the tone of this writing? Please give me an emoji for the tone of this writing, everybody. Nikilesh, we may or may not answer that. We're going to start with this one. What are your thoughts on providing upper management with a UX research report each quarter? I think that that's an okay plan, but if you just learned something amazing, do you have to wait 3 months to show it to them? Just because people like the idea of a quarterly meeting? Maybe you schedule something quarterly, and if something really interesting or amazing happens, you ask some of the management, hey, do you have an additional half hour or hour? We just did some really groundbreaking research and learned something so important. We really want leadership to know about it well ahead of next quarter's meeting. So I would say you can start with a quarterly meeting, and then some people also do monthly broadcasts of some sort to other internal coworkers. Hey, check out what the UX team did this last month. So, excuse me, I think these things on a cadence can be good, but especially for upper management, I wouldn't want them to have to wait 3 months to hear about something really amazing. So that would be my suggestion there. Okay, so let's take the last 2 questions, but seriously, y'all. Okay. What can a junior designer do in a team which does all UX design only with assumptions, and being a junior designer, you can't really speak up or do it yourself because of tight deadlines? Stay at that job or leave that job. Those are your 2 choices. You might not be able to make change there. You might want to make change there, but if everybody thinks this is going very well and we're freaking amazing, then they might not want to change. So how can you create change? The first question would be, is this working for us? Hey, design team, we tend to work from assumptions or guesses or just doing our best because we have tight deadlines. Is this working for us? Are our designs successful? Are customers happy with them, or are customers calling up saying, this doesn't work, this doesn't make sense, I can't get through this? So if you can start to try to make some change by finding where this doesn't work. If everybody's saying, no, this works just fine, cool, then you're probably not going to be able to make change. But if you can get some people to start talking more honestly and say, yeah, we keep guessing at designs and the designs keep not doing well when the users see them and then we have to fix them later, then we have to have some tough talks and maybe talk with your manager. This doesn't have to come from you because you're a junior. Have a talk with your manager and talk about our team is really, or all of our teams are really wasting a lot of time because we don't get enough time to do good work. We give it our best guess. Our work is not as good as it could be. It goes out to our paying customers, and then we have to fix it later because there were problems. This is just a lot of cycles of risk and waste and guessing. Now, if our company's happy with cycles of risk and waste and guessing, then I guess we can keep doing what we're doing. But I wonder if it would be better to give designers more time up front, build in at least one cycle of usability testing, and at times try to do better research up front so that designers aren't guessing. You know, you can try that, but if you can't make that change, it's not your fault. Some companies love to tell themselves they're better than they are, even though they, everybody say it with me, suck. Oops, wrong one. All right, last question from also known as Johnny. Okay, so let's put this one up on the screen. When is my next call? Okay. If a reading app has few users, is it necessary to still have a like function or just combine it with a bookmark? Johnny, you tell me. Anybody else want to answer this one? If an app doesn't have many users, do we need to have a like function? Should we just have a bookmark function? I think my first question is, what do each of these things do? We know a bookmark is for saving something for later. What does the like do? Usually likes and favoriting are a way to add things to a list so that you can find those things later. Context, 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 I have no idea. Right. So the question is, what do each of these represent? If they both represent saving something for later, then sure, you only need one. But if one of them is about saving something for later and the other one is about something else, then they're separate actions, they're separate tasks. How would the user see this? I could combine them. Few users don't feel it's a good app. I would only combine them if you only need one. I don't care how many users there are. What's few? Few to Facebook? Right now it's not showing how many people like it. Just showed the like result to a developer. Ian says progressive disclosure. I don't think so in this case, Ian. I think that might be a little weird because that means you're not seeing one or the other until something else happens. I think the question is, what do these represent? If they both represent saving something for later, because I bookmarked it and I can find it later in some sort of saved list, and I favorited it and I can find it later because it's in some sort of saved list. If these are essentially the same thing, then sure, I think you can just have one. As for which one I would keep, I think it depends on how the users see this. Do they see it as a heart and favorite, or do they see it as a bookmark thing? I think a lot of people are doing the heart and favorite thing right now because this isn't really a wish list thing, it sounds like. It just sounds like I liked reading this and maybe I want to see it again. Medium does clapping, though that doesn't save it for later. That's just showing you liked it. So, yeah, these are some of my questions. I don't think I would, I don't like to just remove things to remove things. I want to make sure I have a good reason. But if they're essentially doing the same thing, then I would bring them together and make sure that, let's say you keep favorites, that if people have bookmarks, that bookmarks become favorites. Don't erase their favorites. They're not going to like that. You'll lose them. So let's say you're going to keep hearts and favorites or likes, and you're going to get rid of bookmarks. Make sure all of the bookmarks become favorites or hearts, if that's what it is. It works the same. Yeah, so if it works the same and people can find a list later of all the things they liked or hearted or bookmarked, then you can just have one, but don't erase what people have already done. Merge it in so that whatever they previously liked is now a bookmark, or whatever they previously bookmarked is now a like, and that either way they can get that list of all the things that they marked, however it was marked. All right, we're over time. We're going to have to go. Again, please do subscribe. You can send in questions even for next week. I think next week's show might be canceled. Let me check. Oh, and tomorrow is our community hangout / group therapy. So check the calendar on deltacx.com/links. You can also check the live events channels on Slack and Discord for how to join. It's totally free. Every other week, we're going to do our community hangout / group therapy over on Remo. So that's tomorrow. Friday will be critical thinking, but 2 hours later because I'm helping to host Tech Circus's Business of Design conference. So my day is blocked out. Critical thinking will happen, but much later. Sorry to Shweta. Monday, we're going to try to do Don't Democratize again because my internet died yesterday. So we'll be doing Don't Democratize UX research and governance for those trying it. That will be Monday, May 1. Tuesday office hours is canceled. I'll be having a group dinner in London, England. Noelle says, thank you for your dedication. Have a good week. You too. So most of the shows are canceled next week except for Monday because I am traveling to America. We will have office hours Ask Us Anything with Dr. Nick on May 9. So that's still happening. And a lot of shows moved around to really weird times because I have so much going on and I'll be in America, so it's a bit of a weird time zone shift for me. All right. Thanks to everybody. I think we made it just in time with all the questions. I hope everybody got some help. And I will play us out of here and get ready for my next call and get all of your questions into the YouTube description. But please remember, we won't have another office hours for about 2 weeks because of my travels. Thanks, and I hope to see everybody tomorrow at group therapy. See you later.
Customer centricity as business intelligence. Visit deltacx.com to learn why we are